Hi, Chris Johnson, CEO of the Urban Taskforce. Another one of our publications just come off the printing press. It's Dynamic Cities Mix Work and Living. This is a thesis that we're trying to say we need mixed-use development, but the Greater Sydney Commission is against mixed use on industrial land. They want to protect all of industrial land. But when you look at the actual definition, which we've got in this document here, of light industrial, because industrial includes a whole lot of different uses, but the actual definition for light industrial use, this is the government, New South Wales government's own definition, is light industry means a building or place used to carry out an industrial activity that does not interfere with the amenity of the neighbourhood by reason of noise, vibration, smells, fumes, and it goes on for a whole lot of things. So basically these light industry areas are fine to connect into broader residential areas. But this document, the Metropolis That Works, it's been put out by the Greater Sydney Commission, basically freezing industrial land to keep it in that sort of use for probably half of Sydney. We think this is wrong. And if you look at this series of publications that we've outlined here on the next page, so here we've outlined a whole series of quite interesting sort of publications and reports around the world that look at what is actually happening. So the Fourth Industrial Revolution, for instance, by Klaus Schwab, explains that the old noisy, smoky, industrial uses of 100 years ago have changed. Computers, technology, environmental laws have made all these quite simple. The New Geography of Jobs by Enrico Moretti, similar thing, that we've moved on from the old image of industrial, noisy, messy, smelly jobs and things. But we've found then that in Portland, they've now got a whole approach to mixed-use projects. We found in Baltimore, they've got a new way to have mixed-use projects, which include industrial uses. Same as in New York. Can industrial mixed-use buildings work in New York City? And of course they end up saying they can. At Atlanta, for instance, putting Atlanta back to work, integrating light industrial into mixed-use urban development. I mean, this is a trend around the world that seems to be misunderstood by the Greater Sydney Commission. But if we look also at some real projects, there's a very interesting project in New York, industrial mixed-use land, that is actually occurring on Long Island. And this image at the bottom here, very interesting one, this is in the city of Vancouver. It's a strip along the East Hastings area, which has been mainly industrial jobs, but now is moving into mixed use. So this image is of the Strathcona Village project, and it is mixed use. It's got 60,000 square feet of light industrial, as well as 280 market apartments and 70 social housing units. And even in Australia, if we move over the page here, we find that in Victoria, an article in the Fifth Estate, Commercial 3, Victoria's new zone for mixed use and creative industries, mixing residential and industries in Victoria, particularly down in the Fisherman's Bend area of Melbourne. In Adelaide, a guide to mixed-use development, and this publication is full of documents, explains about how you can get jobs and housing in one single building. We've got some fabulous examples here in Sydney. Just move over to the next page to see what they are. So we've got, for instance, the Rising Sun in Newtown is a cafe, which is also a workshop for motorcycle repairs. You wouldn't think they'd integrate, but they do. In Piermont Bridge Road, we've got the Gyprock Trade Centre, a whole lot of gyprock hardware, industrial type uses above it. As you can see in the image, all the apartments sitting above it. And East Village, which is another really interesting complex, which has got a supermarket on the ground floor. It's then got the Audi service centre. Here's an image of the service centre. And above all of this, see the image of the Sky Garden. You look out across the Sky Garden and see all the housing around it. So these are buildings that mix up uses. So what we've said at the end of the day is there are 4 steps here. A better way to manage industrial uses. 1, young people want lively mixed-use places. 2, Sydney should follow the lead of other world cities towards mixed uses, just like Portland, New York, Vancouver, Atlanta, Baltimore, Adelaide, Melbourne have done. 3, the Greater Sydney Commission has frozen all the industrial land in the harbour city, particularly in the inner city areas. And 4, we need some industrial-only precincts, but we also need a new light industrial mixed-use zone. We're calling for a new zone to keep the dynamics of the city happening.